You know, if you would have told me 10 years ago that Apple would one day allow emulators in the App Store, I would have said you were on some OS X weed. But that's exactly what happened not too long ago when Apple loosened their restrictions for like the first time in history and allowed emulators to be published on the App Store. And one of those emulators is Delta, which is a pretty awesome app that you should check out if you haven't already. But another one of those apps is UTM, which utilizes QEMU to allow you to emulate an x86 computer right on your iOS device. So of course, that's what we're going to be doing today. And it's sponsored by Surfshark. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So UTM for iOS is actually nothing new whatsoever. This application has been around for years, but up until now you've had to sideload it using AltStore, for example, to get it working on a non-jailbroken device. But now with it being published in the App Store, it just makes it a lot easier. So you can download this, I'll have the link down below, and when you open it up, this is the screen you're going to get. Now, as you probably expected, we're going to be installing Windows XP today because that just seems rather fitting for this channel. And the really cool thing about UTM is they have these pre-built images that you can get from the UTM gallery. And they've got just a whole bunch of them here. Arch Linux ARM, Debian 11. We scroll all the way down, you've got Windows 11, Windows 7, and here is Windows XP. And yeah, by the way, it's worth mentioning that UTM can emulate more than just x86 hardware, which opens up just a whole bunch of possibilities and maybe future video ideas that we can use this thing for. But of course, today we're just going to be utilizing the x86 component of it to run Windows XP here. So if you go into this profile, it will list the specifications of the virtual machine that it will create, and then you can download it. It also mentions down here you will need, of course, a Windows XP ISO downloaded to your iOS device to actually, boot from and install. So I already have this downloaded, so if we go back into UTM here, I can just click on the open button and go to the Windows XP VM right there, open that up, and it will pull it in for us. Now, there are a bunch of settings that you can modify around in here, but the main thing you have to do is actually mount the ISO image. So I'm going to tap on CD/DVD, hit browse, select the ISO, and there we go. We're all good to power this on. But if you wanted to change the memory around, for example, you can go into the main settings page here. And one thing we certainly want to do is go into information and change the icon around, how it shows up in the list of virtual machines that we have. You can also change the name of it here, add some notes if you want to. But the one they have selected by default for this profile is the Windows 10 icon. We can change that to Windows XP here. And there we go. That's more fitting, don't you think? You can also just add your own icon if you want to, or just use a generic one. But you see they have a whole bunch of operating system icons in here, which is pretty neat. So we'll go back to settings. Under system, you can change, the memory. You can change the system that's actually emulating. I would recommend keeping this on the default, but you do have a bunch of other options in here, as you can see. So we'll just leave that there. We're going to pretty much leave everything at the default, at least for now. And once we get XP installed, we'll come back and maybe modify some stuff and, see what we can do with this. Of course, you guys know the rule on this channel. We're going to try to get Half-Life running on this thing because, why the heck not? So we'll go ahead and just save that. And now we will start the computer. And here it is starting up. So from here on out, this is basically just a regular Windows XP installation. Now, I do have a Bluetooth keyboard hooked up, which I would highly recommend to make this process a lot easier. Now, the hard drive that it's created for us is around 20 gigabytes in size, so we're just going to press enter to install on this unpartitioned space and format using NTFS quickly. And yeah, we're off to the races. Alright, after a pretty long period of waiting, we've got Windows XP installed and ready to go. And I now remember why I didn't jump to immediately making a video on UTM SE when it hit the App Store, because the SE actually stands for Slow Edition. This is a more limited version of the regular UTM iOS application that you can get in AltStore. And that's actually what I have installed right here. I switched over to the regular version of UTM that's able to utilize just-in-time compilation, or JIT for short. And in a nutshell, just to really like oversimplify this for you, JIT essentially allows UTM to run these emulated systems much better than the SE version can. You just get much better performance out of it. These systems are able to run a lot faster. I mean, just to install Windows XP when I was doing it under UTM SE, it took over 2 hours just to go through the installation process because of how slow that the emulator was running. And it took about 30 seconds to just start the emulator up and just go through the XP boot process. Whereas with the regular UTM with JIT enabled, it takes like 10 seconds. So it is considerably faster, and I would recommend going this route if you want to just really experience emulation on iOS using UTM. It is more involving the setup. It's not as simple as just downloading an app from the App Store. You have to use Alt Store. You got to get UTM from there and then go through the JIT enabling process, which requires a Mac. With the latest version of iOS, you cannot do this from a Windows system. So yeah, it's just more involving, but it's worth it because now we're able to run XP here just much better than we did under UTM SE. And so we're going to now have some fun. We're going to pretty much jump right into, you know, the Half-Life rule. I figured this was a requirement for this video. So I've got Half-Life 1.0 here. We're going to try to run this and see how well that it's able to run, if at all. And you saw we also have a copy of VirtualBox there on the desktop. Just for the heck of it, I figured we'd try to install VirtualBox and install a virtual machine to do some VMception on here. We're just going to run hl.exe, and we'll see if... Okay, so we immediately get a compatibility issue. And it just says there's a known issue with this version of Windows, but it looks like we can still hit continue. And we could just enable compatibility mode in the properties if this doesn't launch. But it looks like it's at least launching the CD key entry screen, so let me grab that. And there we go. So yeah, sound works totally fine, which is pretty awesome. So we'll just hit escape here to skip through the intro. And yeah, so let's just, you know what, we haven't done a new game in a while. You know, the past few videos we've tried to run Half-Life, we've just gone to the hazard course. So let's go do a new game. We'll do medium, sure, that's fine. And check that out. Oh my gosh. So, I mean, it looks a little bit like, I think we're dropping some frames here, but, you know, we're just running this under the, I mean, if we go in here to settings, I'm actually curious to see if we can, like, do this in, because, you know, we're just doing the software renderer, but I wonder if let's just try to change to Direct 3D just for the heck of it, and see if this driver we've got loaded will allow us to run. Let's start with 640 by 480, and let's just see if it shows anything in here. It just shows default, so okay, we'll hit OK. Oh yeah, that is considerably worse. So even at 640 by 480 under Direct 3D, that is... Oh yeah, and you can hear the like audio is really struggling too. So alright, we're just going to hit escape here and get out of that. I just like to try the 3 video modes, so I mean, we'll just try OpenGL as well. Selected OpenGL mode is not supported by your video card, not surprising. So, back to the software renderer. Yeah, so this is running at the lowest resolution, so this is the best performance that we're going to get. And honestly, I mean, it looks totally playable to me so far. So, it's just, I mean, Half-Life on your phone, that's pretty freaking awesome, I have to say. But I'm just curious, let's Alt-Tab out of here. I just want to go and look in Device Manager, because I did go into the display properties, and, you know, I saw that, you know, we had a bunch of resolution options. I currently have the system set to 800 by 600, but I'm curious what it shows for the display driver, if anything. So it looks like under other devices here, there is not a, you know, proper VGA driver installed, so it's just using a built-in one. Well, apparently, I just looked this up, there is like a, you know, guest editions equivalent for UTM here. I think we have to power off the VM to be able to get that. Alright, well, I just had to re-enable JIT because when you shut off the virtual machine, it force quits the app, and when that happens, you have to re-enable JIT. before you can start the virtual machine again. But anyways, all we have to do here is long press on the VM and click on Install Windows Guest Tools. And I believe it just mounts it as like an ISO in the VM. Yeah, there it is, which just mounted as an ISO image. Oh, and it just auto-changed the resolution for us. That is that is some wide Windows XP. Holy cow. That's a little bit too wide, I think. Jeez. Well, we can, let's just go here. The system has recovered from a serious error. Oh no. Okay, well, we won't send that report. And yeah, now we'll go through this found new hardware stuff. But under display adapters here, we now have Red Hat QXL GPU. Look at that. Alright, so we're back on the software renderer, and yeah, it looks great. I feel like the game maybe is running a little bit better now. Could just be a placebo. I mean, it was running pretty great, just under the, basic driver it had loaded before. So yeah, this is totally playable. I mean, it's certainly interesting using a touchscreen to move the camera around, but it works. And when you have a keyboard, I mean, if you did not have the keyboard plugged in, trying to use the on-screen, that would be completely unplayable. You need to have a keyboard plugged in. So yeah, we'll just do a bit of a time lapse here, so you guys don't have to sit through the entire transit system ride, and we'll maybe just, I don't know, goof off in the Black Mesa Sector C complex for a little bit. Yeah, I'm running late, and you're not helping, my guy. Well, here we are back again. I mean, it really never gets old, this game. I hope it's not too boring for you guys every time I throw this game on in a video, but I think this is a far more appropriate use of the what am I doing? I gotta go up here first. This is a far more appropriate use of the Half-Life rule, because this is kind of one of those weird situations where it doesn't really like make any sense to run the game on an iPhone, especially if you're not just gonna set the thing down and have a USB keyboard to play it. But you can totally do it if you really wanted to spend the time to get UTM with JIT working on here, which like I said, a little bit more involving than just downloading the UTM SE app from the App Store, but it does work, and it is pretty cool. I mean, what else can you say? So yeah, that is Half-Life. We'll just quit out of this because I do want to try out, just something else that's pretty stupid. Try to get VirtualBox installed on here and install Windows 98 SE in a virtual machine and see if we can even do that. So we'll start VirtualBox here, or at least the setup executable for it. Well, we're off to a good start so far, so we're just going to grab everything. Yep, create a shortcut, that's fine. Network interferences, not worried about that. We're not even on the network. And speaking of networks, today's video sponsor Surfshark knows a thing or two about those. Now look, I'm not going to babble on about what a VPN does and doesn't do, because I'm sure you've all seen Tom Scott's video by now, but what I will say is that I've been using Surfshark for the past 4 years, and it's become an essential app to have installed on my devices, especially when traveling. Just earlier this month, I was on a week-long trip to Vancouver and encountered a few of those pesky region-locked messages when trying to watch some videos. But all I had to do was fire up Surfshark, connect to one of their American servers, and it was as if my computer had never left the country. Surfshark runs on today's most popular desktop and mobile operating systems, unless you're perpetually stuck in the early 2000s like we are on this channel, and you can connect with unlimited devices under a single subscription. In fact, they even encourage you to share it with your family members. Gee, imagine that! Of course, you'll also get the usual privacy benefits that come with a VPN, as connecting to one of their over 3,200 no-log servers hides your real IP address from the websites that you visit. Plus, it all comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, and if you sign up through my link below, you'll get 4 extra months for free with a purchase of a year or 2-year plan. So be sure to check them out, and huge thanks again to Surfshark for making this video possible. Oh yeah, and by the way, because I just realized I haven't mentioned this yet, this is an older version of VirtualBox that supports Windows XP as a host. So we're all done. We're just gonna start up VirtualBox. Well, we're missing the title bar for some reason. That's certainly interesting. Why is it like that? Wait a second. Oh, it's actually because the window was just too big, but that was like a perfect alignment. But we'll just maximize it here. So yeah, we'll go to new, and we're gonna create a Win98 virtual machine. Sure, 64 megs of RAM. Create a new virtual hard disk. VDI dynamically allocated. Just go with all the default settings, and then go to settings, and just go down to storage here. Go to our disk drive and mount the ISO. Oh yeah, we need a we need a boot floppy. There we go. All right, we're gonna start Windows 98 setup from CD-ROM. So here we are. Welcome to setup. Let's go through and configure unallocated space. Yeah, I think this is definitely the most pointless thing that we can do with UTM, because you could just install 98 directly with UTM instead of going through a layer of emulation already with Windows XP as the host. But it does work, or at least it seems to here. It seems like the system is not wanting to restart immediately. Let's oh. Well, I think I think the system just crashed. But hey, at least the entire app didn't crash. Oh no, and it's gonna reset the resolution. No. Alright, so I actually just made an entire new virtual machine. You see I just misspelled Win98 up there. Because the previous one, I was just started to have problems with it. I would start it up and it would just hang immediately. So yeah, we got a new VM here, and we're gonna, I just started the system with CD-ROM support from the floppy disk, and we're just going to go into F-disk here, and just manually go through, create a DOS partition, and yes, and there we go, and we will reset the VM. Yeah, this is what it was doing before. When you run F-disk and restart, it just like hangs up here. And I mean, I've tried to restart it, and it just does the same thing here. Alright, let's just restart, do an F12, and manually boot from the floppy. No, that doesn't work. Okay, let's try the CD. I mean, it's not bootable. Yeah, why all of a sudden, like, it can't... I mean, it was able to boot from the floppy before, but once you configure the, you know, or just run fdisk, create a DOS partition on the hard drive, then it, like, doesn't boot from the floppy anymore. Alright, well, I tried 2 more Windows 98 boot disks, and the same thing happened. I put a Windows 95 boot disk in, and it worked fine. So, we're just gonna roll with it and, format the C drive. Alright, so now we'll just run setup, and we're just going to do /is to skip scan disk, because, I mean, we don't really need to go through that. And, oh! That's the entire system just restarting. Yep. So it did not like that. Alright, so we'll just try this again, and see if it immediately just kills the XP VM here. Well, that's not good. It, it was copying files needed for Windows setup, and then it just went back to the prompt here. It's not displaying an error message. That's what's problematic. I mean, we'll just run setup regularly from here, let it run through scan disk, copying files needed for Windows setup, and then it just quits. We might have to specify the temp directory, so let's just back out of this, go to the C drive, make a new dir called temp, and then go back to the R drive. So setup /is/nr/t:/c:/temp. And that does the same thing. Well, after trying some more things with 98 and getting nowhere, I figured, well, since we're using a Windows 95 boot disk, why don't we try Windows 95? And well, we got the setup to load. So we're gonna try to go through this here and see if we can get this installed. I have a feeling that UTM might just crash, and I mean, not the entire application, but you know how it's just been like restarting intermittently? Yeah, it might do that. We'll see, but I'm hoping we can get through this setup process. See Windows, check the hard disk, do your thing, check for installed components, and typical. Oh, this is always a little bit concerning when it freezes up on analyzing your computer. I've had this happen many times. It's typically on real hardware, though, where it just will lock up. It's on 96%. This can take a while. I mean, it is normal for it to, you know, freeze on you know, a certain percentage, but we'll see if it gets to 100. I mean, we can still move the mouse around, so that's a good sign, because normally that will lock up and you won't be able to move the mouse if it actually freezes. And there we go. Not going to bother with any of these extras. Install the most common components. That's fine. And no, I do not want to make a startup disk. And we are off to the races. So let's see if it actually gets through this. No, it crashed! Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? It got to like 33%, I think, as it, when it was copying files, and then I stepped away and came back, and it had just restarted. So yeah, this is not looking good. And well, things continued to not look so good as I tried a few more attempts at getting this to work. And I'm kind of at the point now where I'm just comfortable giving up and saying, we gave it a good shot. Because, I mean, I tried, some other virtual machine software. I tried to increase the hardware that UTM was emulating because I thought that, maybe it's just getting to a point where it's like using too many system resources and it crashes because of that. Or just, force resets anyway. So yeah, even after increasing the emulated system's hardware, that still did not allow us to fully go through the Windows 95 setup process. In fact, I even had a couple times where instead of just force resetting the emulated system, it would just lock up and I would have to go to that, menu we've seen at the top and just force power off the system from there. But again, it's not like this is a big deal at all because this is utterly and completely pointless. There is no purpose in doing this whatsoever. You could just install Windows 95 or 98 or whatever else just within UTM and just run an emulated system that way. So yeah, it's definitely, one of those pointless things that I just felt we should do on this channel, just to have a little bit of fun. Hey, at least we got Half-Life running in this thing. So we got, we're like halfway successful in this video. But yeah, that is pretty much going to wrap up this little demonstration of UTM on iOS. Definitely a really cool application, and like I mentioned earlier, I would definitely recommend, if you want to get the full performance out of this, to just go the route of getting the full version through AltStore and enabling JIT through the Alt Server application, and just using it that way. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting through a lot of waiting on UTM SE. But hey, either way, it's pretty cool. You're able to emulate a full-fledged computer on your iOS device. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, get subscribed, maybe consider becoming a patron or a channel member to get early access to these videos before anybody else. But either way, I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.